Hello, my name is Nigel MacLennan, and this is
Egle from Lithuania.
Hello, Egle. It's nice. It's great to see you again. Today, we're going to discuss how people respond to the COVID situation and specifically the COVID lockdown. And we're going to look at the effect that personality has on how we handle the lockdown. So if we're going to look at personality and how we handle stressful situations or difficult situations, then maybe we should start, Egle, with an exploration of, and maybe even try and answer the question, what is personality? What's your take? What is personality?
Oh, this is a difficult question to answer. But I think if we look at the personality, the way I see is how a person see themselves from the experience point of view, from the social point of view, and from actually the values point of view. So personality is very construct identity, so to call. This is the way I see. And if people would not have a personality as such a thing, they would not be attached to it. They would be, free out of personalities. So they could be anything they can be, anything they want to be. But personality has this weight. When people say, what is your personality? It's almost like putting a stamp on something. So exploration of personality is important, in my perspective, to understand what person really is, how do they see themselves? That's just my point of view. And so what about you? I guess you have much more to say.
Well, I have to say I'm amazed and delighted to hear that you say that people construct their own identity, and that's what personality is. And you also mentioned that personality is how people choose to see themselves, and that can put a weight on them. I think all of those things are true. Here's my take on personality, and it comes from a chain of questions. Who am I? If we ask ourselves that question, who am I? So are you Egle? And if you are Egle, if you change your name, are you the same person? So when we express our personality, then clearly we can't be our name, because we can change our name and still be the same person. Are you your gender? So if you had a gender reassignment operation, would you still be Egle? Would you still be the same person? And I think the answer is yes, you would still be the same person, even if you were a different gender. So we then ask, well, if it's not name and it's not gender, is it age? Are you the same person inside that you were when you were 10 as you are now? I certainly feel as though I'm the same person. I'm sure most people do. Of course, I might have changed in some ways, but fundamentally, I'm still the same person. So we're not our name. We're not our self-assigned or other assigned label. We're definitely not our age. Are we our profession? So if you were to change profession, Egle, would you still be the same person? If you cease being an advanced physiotherapist and a top-class yoga teacher and decided to maybe do something like drive a van or drive a lorry, would you still be the same person? Yes, you would.
I don't know. I don't know.
It may well change you. It may well change you. But the moment you changed, you would still be the same person. So who are we? What is our personality? Well, here's my take. And again, best expressed in a series of other questions. Are you the same person speaking to me and the audience just now as you are when you're speaking to your younger relatives? And I suspect the answer is no. You behave in a very different way. And to the different people looking at you, you would appear to have a different personality. Are you the same when you're leading a yoga class as you are just now when you're listening really actively and attentively? No, the people in the yoga class would probably perceive you to be a different personality. So maybe and this is just a suggestion, maybe we don't have a personality, singular, maybe we have personalities, plural, meaning that we change our self-appointed sense of identity in different contexts, and that we are genuinely different people in those different contexts. What do you think?
Wow. I think the way I see it is the question is, who are you being in given circumstances? Very, very truth, because even though we know who we are, and sometimes we just don't know who we are, we're exploring ways to get to know ourselves. Our personality and the way we behave changes in where we at, and many people, you know, when they come to me, obviously maybe come to you, and they said, you know, I don't know who I am actually. Am I a mother? Am I a sister? Am I a teacher? Maybe I'm a broken woman, or maybe I'm a very empowered woman, or maybe I'm a weak man, maybe very strong, maybe I'm a warrior. They exploring ways, actually the ways they could accept themselves. That's pretty much what they're exploring. And I'm like, okay, so who you want to be? You want to be a warrior, and it's okay. If you want to be a mother, that is a role that you choose to play. But in the end of the day, you can be or become whoever you want to be in the given circumstances. It's very cool actually to recognize that we are who we choose to be, rather than someone else tell us to be who we don't want to be. And that is a conscious choice to be a mother, a conscious choice to be a warrior. Those qualities. It's like a rainbow personality, right? Some people say, oh, split personality, but actually everybody have that. If you think about it, right?
I think that's absolutely amazing. And I think you're probably right. In fact, I'm certain you're right.
Yeah.
We don't know who we are because we are not one thing. We are multiple things. We are multiple personalities. Split personalities usually has, excuse me, negative connotations. But in this instance, what we're saying is that we have lots of different functioning and functional personalities. And you also said that we're exploring who we are. And I think that's probably true. Probably each time we go into a new context in which we're uncertain and we don't understand the rules and the situation and the expected behaviors, I suspect that we are, excuse me, that we are exploring who we are. And you said something else which I thought was fascinating too, which is we're looking for a way or looking for ways in which we can accept ourselves. That too, I think, is really, really strong. We're looking for some sense of, yes, this is who I think I am, and in brackets, but we don't usually say this to ourselves, in this context, this is who I am in this context, and I'm happy being that person in this context. And you said another thing which I thought was hugely profound and very insightful, which is personality in any given situation is a choice. So maybe what we're saying is, and I'm going to summarize a huge amount of the information we've just talked about so far in a ridiculously small phrase, so please forgive me if this is not quite right, that personality is a choice. Personality in any given situation is who we have chosen to be, or who we have become happy accepting ourselves as in that situation. And that would beg the next logical question, which is, and I'll pose this question to you, Egle, why would one person be happy choosing one personality in that same situation, and another person would be happy choosing a different personality in exactly the same situation? Why do you think there would be that difference of choice?
Interesting. So we're talking about choice, and if person is really aware, Nothing unconscious about the situation and the outcome possibly that personality can create, and the results. By being that personality, by being that way, they getting the results and they're happy with it, and they choose it consciously to be that personality, that is fine. But if people are reacting automatically and they've been conditioned, unconsciously conditioned as a response, and becoming as a not necessarily self-reflective personality, but unconscious way to respond. And usually people say, this is the way I am, and I cannot change anything. I am who I am, and this is it. That is sometimes sounds like, I don't want to deal with my difficult personality. I'm not taking responsibility for my response. So that person will react in the same, let's say, stressful situation, absolutely different way. So I think there's two ways of responding and being who you are, and we can change. Let's say if that personality, by responding in the same way, brings not very good results, pushes people away, spreads negativity, pushes itself away, judging itself, that's going to create absolute dramatic response, not only in the environment, but in the body. So then they will see that results, and that maybe going to encourage them to change and look into the who am I being and make a different choice. But till they get that, probably they have to suffer a bit. So I think if that is the response to the question, I think it's a matter of, do we see the choice or we not, and who we being by seeing the choice to be that way and not seeing that choice. What do you think?
Oh, wow. That was so much information in a short period of time.
Channeling, Nigel.
Wonderful. I think that you're right, that some people, they choose a given behavior pattern, which we collectively call a personality, because they're results focused. So that they're choosing to be a particular way because they know it will achieve a particular outcome. I particularly see that when I'm coaching. Most of my work is leadership coaching, as you know. I particularly see that with leaders, that the most advanced leaders will choose which behavior patterns they need in order to achieve the outcomes they want. So I suspect with those kinds of people, the way they come over, the way they behave, the way they are in any given situation is because they are focused on a given result, that they're outcome focused, they're trying to achieve a specific end. You also mentioned another point, which is that some people react unconsciously. And let me make a distinction between those two categories of people. The leader, the advanced leader who changes his or her behavior to suit the outcomes that he or she wants, they are responding, they are making a choice of how to be what their personality is in any given situation. But those who are reacting, so here's the distinction I'm making. Some people are responding deliberately for a particular purpose, and other people are reacting. In other words, they are not giving thought as to what their behavior actually is. They're just engaging in an unconscious behavior pattern triggered by that particular situation. So I think there's probably two extremes in explaining why some people have a different personality or behavioral pattern response to a given situation than others. And of course, there's probably all of those in between. Those who, they're not quite as sophisticated yet to get to the point of choosing their behavior in any given situation. So there'll be elements of choice and there'll be elements of unconscious reaction. And then there's the others at the extreme of reacting. The phrase that you encapsulated it so beautifully with was, "I am who I am," or "I am what I am." In other words, they're declaring to themselves and the world that their behavior patterns, they believe, are fixed and beyond their control. And what you also made about that, which is that they take no responsibility for their reactions. I am what I am. That's the way I was always going to behave. And that's probably the way I would behave in exactly the same situation all over again.
Yes.
So that's my feedback on your answer. So essentially, I think all I've done there is elaborate on your wonderful analysis. The point I would make is that I think we choose why or how we take on a particular personality or behavior set in one situation as opposed to another based on our beliefs. So if we believe that we are people who can control our environment, who can control our outcomes in life, then we're probably more likely to choose our behavior in any given situation. If we are people who do not believe that we have any ability to influence or have, as the technical term goes, to have agency on our environment, then we're probably going into unconscious reaction. There's no deliberate choice. So we've got this really bizarre situation where we're actually suggesting a closed loop here. We're suggesting, well, I'm suggesting, perhaps you're not, I'm suggesting, I'm suggesting that our personality or personalities of reaction in any one circumstance are based on our personality and personalities previously formed in similar circumstances in the past. In other words, our personality is an iteratively developed loop. It's or personalities. So our previous personality decisions influence our future personality decisions, and the decisions that we then make influence our future personality decisions, and on and on and on and on we go, with personality being or personalities being in a closed loop where each previous iteration influences the next iteration. I know that's probably a touch complex, but what's your take on my analysis?
It's hard to analyze what you really explained, because it just the way you see what personality is, it's pretty much I would say there's a question that comes to me is, so what are the structure of personality really is then? What really is personality? What do you think? Like, okay, so that is the, I heard is values, right? Our beliefs and values, behaviors. What else? What else influences the personality to be the way we are?
There's a whole host of things. We could be here for the rest of the day talking about them. Let's just do a few. The rules that we have, that we impose on ourselves. So we tend to try and work towards consistency. I am like this. So when put in a new situation, you have that sense of this is who I am. These are my rules of behavior. Therefore, I should behave like this. It may be that part of personality is just honoring our rules to ourselves. We're keeping our commitments to ourselves. I always behave like this in this kind of situation, so therefore I should behave like this. I might actually want to behave in an entirely different way, but because I'm trying to be consistent within myself, I stick to those same rules. There's a couple of factors that could influence this thing we're talking about, personality, whatever it is, and I'm not too sure we're getting any closer to a definition. In fact, we're probably getting closer to realizing that perhaps there is no definition.
There's no definition.
There's two types of learned behavior. There's called operant conditioning and classical conditioning. So this is the Pavlov's dog's approach. You know, if every time you put, every time something happens to you, some other environmental cue takes place, eventually that environmental cue taking place on its own will trigger the other behaviors. That's called classical conditioning. And the other way around is if you gradually reward someone in a particular direction by little increments, so each time they get a little bit closer to doing the thing that you're trying to encourage them to do, you give them a reward. Eventually you can take that person to the point where that is the default behavior, because they have so consistently been rewarded for it. So it may be that personality, if that thing actually exists at all, and it's not personalities as we previously discussed, it may be that personality is the sum total of how we have been rewarded by the environment for behaving. Or it could be
how we reward ourselves.
Indeed so. Yes, there's another loop that you've just introduced there.
Right?
Yes, how we reward
ourselves to keep that personality going.
Do you want to elaborate on that, on how you think we reward ourselves?
Yeah, it's basically, you know, I only can analyze for myself. So there is a loop of behavior that I rewarding myself with is actually, I don't even know, it's the feeling that I get. It's like satisfaction that if I was feeling some negative thoughts and some disempowering beliefs that I cannot do this, I'm not going to be able to do that, and I conduct all my strength, it's like every day creating some sort of challenge where I overcome that, and it's in me. It's something that in me, the comfort of itself, like being who I am, it's always overcoming myself. And that feeling of rewarding, overcoming that fear or that negative belief that who's saying, no, don't do this. Because of that, I do it anyway. Even so I'm doing it, I'm looking for those, where else? So the reward for myself is being proud of myself that I can make choice. I can make choice to do it absolutely opposite. Absolutely opposite. And opposite the way I think, or that belief is disempowering, that thought is disempowering, and actually puts me in a very comfortable position where, oh, no, don't do that. Opposite. So I think a reward is the feeling that it's very, very empowering feeling.
Interesting. and
yes.
That probably introduces yet another layer of closed feedback loops. Because if in the past you've role modeled somebody else who says these things to you, such as maybe your parents or a good teacher, if you reward yourself for doing things that are constructive for yourself, you'll be more likely to be successful. And maybe at some point in the past you've modeled yourself on someone like that, and that might introduce another element of personality. In other words, we are our own constructions, but our own constructions, the way we've constructed what we think of as our personality or personalities, each of those constructions has come from influence or role modeling of other people. And then the question would be, how do we integrate all of those different role model scenarios? So, or do we integrate those role model scenarios? So, for instance, if you learn to run from a running coach, do you integrate the teaching, the role modeling, the learning from that person? Do you integrate that into other aspects of your life, or do those things stay in the silos? Do they stay in that particular piece? And if they do integrate with each other, how do we integrate them? On what basis do we make the choice to integrate them? So I'm starting to think that with all the complexity that we've just discussed in the last very few minutes, a very short period of time, it's probably getting to the point where it's almost impossible to analyze what personality actually is. What do you think?
It's very thing. I'm thinking about one thing right now. It's being free out of the old models, because to exploring and get to know itself, to feel and being aware of what you like, what you really like, not that because it's gonna gain you some results, actually being detached out of the outcome, right? Like a dog is a dog, right? There's there is some kind of a spirit in a dog, in an animal, but human being is absolutely different. A human being is absolute complex being. So we have this being of being attached to results, being attached and looking and comparing and all of that, but there is the other side of us which is absolutely free. It's unexplored freedom that we're not aware of on a daily basis. So tapping into that space, that's why all of these environments exist. conscious work. It's about tapping into something that is actually unknown. Despite all the experience that we had, is something unknown. And I love that space. Sometimes I am in that space where there's nothingness, just the feeling of peace. And it's a very, very, very strong feeling of what you want to create, Egle, despite of who your parents are, despite what you've achieved already, despite all the coaches, all the gurus. What is this, what you feel right now that you want to create? And that exploration of that, so who you want to be. And maybe I never was that way before. Maybe I never felt that way before. I want to explore. And this feeling of, that's why some people, they just go travel with no expectations what they're gonna find on that road. And it's the best traveling in the world. They say, don't just travel, just go on the road and you'll see what's gonna happen. And I love that comparison with actually explore yourself without actually comparing yourself with anything else or trying to fit into something in the social world, right? What if you don't need to fit in? What if you don't need to be, right? So exploring that, detached out of the social world. And this topic very much related with the way we behave and who we are being in terms of this situation of COVID, right? And the coronavirus situation when there is a lockdown. And so who we are being in this situation, and we're being fearful. We're really locking down ourselves, not only in the room, but in the belief system that is suggested. How we really, feel, what is this really happening, and how do I be with myself first, despite of the social world. So that is a very interesting topic, right? We're touching on now. I'm just, going further with our conversation. And what do you think on that one? How does people really cope with this lockdown situation right now? What do you think?
Well, before I answer the how we cope with the lockdown, I'd just like to share with you some of my thoughts on some of the comments you made. You said, and I'm paraphrasing quite dramatically here, that essentially our personality is what we choose it to be. We construct it ourselves. And I'm pretty sure that's right. However, I'm not sure that we're conscious of the choices we've made. So for instance, we may have adopted a given behavior to deal with a stressful situation or a difficult situation. And, and that behavior worked. It was effective for us. And it became part of our repertoire long after the circumstances in which we were inclined to adopt it have passed. So we're acting out a behavior that we adopted for one reason, but we normalize it. It becomes part of who we are. But in essence, I would say that I think you're right. I think our personalities, and I think plural is probably more accurate, they are a choice. We have chosen them. But I think we probably have lost awareness, most of us have lost awareness, that we made those choices. I can't remember if it was George Bernard Shaw said this, or it was Thomas Zatz or Carl Jung, but I've got this quote running through my head, which your analysis has triggered for me. It's this: you don't find yourself, you create yourself. And I think that's what you're saying. So onto the COVID part of the question you posed me. How do certain personalities cope with COVID? What effect does COVID have on our personality? And what effect does our personality have on how we cope with COVID? I think there's a lot to be explored there. What would you say are the key points around that?
I think when there is a pressure, right, some certain pressure, what comes up, the strongest point or strongest points of personality. Let's say if you're creating the pressure, right, let's say in the environment, what will come up in the personality that was the strongest behavior pattern to respond or choose response. So in the pressure, you know, it will show how conscious we are about our choices and how conscious we are about our reactions. So it's interesting. Some people straight away, some people just ignore, some people surrender, you know, in terms of how attached they are with all the social world, how really they are involved in it, how much power they gave away to the social world, and really how much do they know themselves. They know the freedom of choice to be who they are and respond, that they have a choice to respond or not. And even the responding, knowing that they're responding with the choice, it's important, right? Let's say if the TV tells me, okay, this is what's happening now and so on, I can take absolutely 100% believing and have a faith and start feeling fearful, start feeling very much afraid of, you know, panicking and so on, feeding that situation. So I'm gonna be completely reabsorbed in that whole situation and become part of it big time. However, there are certain things that I explore and I understand. I integrate that knowing in what's going on, and I really gonna choose to actually to react absolutely different way, not to let the information touch me inside, but still conduct the rules that's been requested, because I am part of the social groups. I am part of the social world. So what do you think?
I think, again, excellent analysis. But psychologists have been studying for years that typically in stressful situations, people's strongest, most dominant behavior patterns tend to come out. Certainly, I would put a little caveat on that and say the strongest behavior pattern in a given context comes out. You change the context and you change the strongest behavior pattern in that context. But yeah, spot on. I think that's it. That's exactly right. And I think also the way people would behave in a stressful situation like COVID, like the lockdown. Actually, let me just give you a quick aside there. It might not actually be stressful for some individuals. Some individuals, and the personality label that's used to describe them is introverted. They actually they love, if such a personality characteristic does exist, and if it is just one personality, you know, all the caveats that we've talked about previously. But if introversion does exist as a personality entity, people who have that, made that choice over the course of their lifetimes, and they've shaped themselves into being introverts, they love their own space. Typically, the people who behave like that, when they go out into social situations, it drains them. They find it draining dealing with other people. They can do it. They can do it. You know, high functioning individuals can do it, but they do find it very, very draining. And when it's finished, they retreat back into their shells to recharge their batteries. They need personal time to feel good about themselves again. So it may be that people who have this characteristic, they are thriving in the lockdown because they're not having to deal with people. They can look into themselves. They can indulge themselves in all their hobbies and interests and so on without any interference from any outside source. So for some people, lockdown could just be heavenly.
What do you think? I have just very quick thought and question to you. So, okay, so that's pretty much social world, outside world created the absolutely great circumstances for those people not to deal with other people. But that it doesn't mean that those people developing the capacity, adaptation, and dealing with people. Don't you think it's like it's a little bit of an escape, and it's not gonna necessarily gonna make them stronger dealing with people, right? They can escape a little bit of retreat, but then everything will open up. We're still a part of the community, right? We're still part of the community. So, you know, you're escaping for a little bit, but still, but I'll talk about other part of people who love it because it's a great excuse not to do anything about your health, and not to do anything, not own the health. And this is probably that. Because of this, I cannot do this. Because of COVID, I don't go to outside. And this is a great opportunity for people who don't want to be in charge of the health. I think this is also this like a negative part of it. But, the situation can be a very good excuse for people who really don't want to own the health, especially, and a great excuse for people who want to explore ways to actually take a greater advantage of responsibility, what is health for them. So I think this embracing two sides as well, this whole situation. So what do you think as from your point of view, let's say for the personality who really want to don't lose sanity in this all times, what are the best ways to deal in this situation with all this lockdown?
I think, again, you've hit the nail on the head. People who take self-responsibility generally thrive in just about any circumstance. They put it down to themselves. It's up to me to make the best of this. I'm going to figure out how to make the best of this. I don't know what it will be, but I'm going to think about it and do something about it until I find out what I can do to make the best of this. So yeah, I think you're right that that some people will abdicate responsibility and say, oh, it's lockdown, I can't do anything, I'm stuck in the house, and other people would say, wow, I have this amazing opportunity to sort out all these things that I've never been doing, I haven't been doing for years. I can get myself healthy. I can read the books that I wanted to read. I can paint those pictures that I've been thinking of painting. I can write that book I've been thinking of writing, and so on. So I think you're right. There's probably a continuum, and I'm just drawing it in front of me just now. On one end, there are those for whom the COVID situation is an opportunity to abdicate responsibility. I'm stuck in my house, there's nothing I can do. And at the other end is there are those who see it as a huge opportunity. I can do anything I want with my time right now, and nobody can tell me what to do, and everything in between. But for everybody, wherever they sit in the continuum, I think that the point you make is absolutely right. It is down to self-responsibility. It is down to choice. So if I was advising individuals how to deal with COVID the best possible way, I would encourage them to think first of all about their health, physical and mental health. Ask themselves the question, what can I do to keep myself fit physically in this environment, even though I can't actually go out? What can I do? And there's lots of things. I mean, as a physiotherapist and a yoga teacher, you will know all the techniques that people can use, from simple things like press-ups and squats and the huge list of exercises that one can do anywhere without any equipment whatsoever. I mean, we don't we don't need a gym in order to keep ourselves fit, do we? Yeah. And on mental health, I would encourage people to ask themselves the question, what do I love doing? What absolutely sets me on fire with enthusiasm and excitement and passion? And whatever the answer is to that question, then that's the thing to do. However, we know that when people get themselves into anxiety or depression, they tend not to do the things that they find that make themselves passionate, in which case I would encourage those individuals to, excuse me, to reach out for help. There's lots of help available on the end of the telephone and online, and with counselling services and psychotherapy services and so on. And if individuals can't find their way to do something to protect and maintain their mental health, then it would be time to ask for external help. What do you think?
I think intuitively, I'm leading classes, yoga classes online, and meditation, mindfulness classes online, to help people to maintain that mental balance, and also, of course, activate the body. Absolutely. It's just without it, and you can do it. You don't need to, sometimes you don't need to go outside to move your body. And sometimes you need that space and time to create and explore what is this your passion really is. And, finding way to dedicate time. Even those people, you know, the ones who has kids or families, they got to spend time with family and actually get to know partner even better, rather than putting in the negatives. And of course they'll face lots of negatives they've been avoiding. They also can have a chance to explore what is positive side of it. But it's a couple work, right? And of course, spending more time with kids, as kids are now not going to school and they are learning at school, they can be a crazy busy environment in the house. But then there is also an opportunity to organize time and get to know and see where it be possible to improve, right? Either communication, either organizing time around it. It's pretty hard time right now, especially if people, you know, in the big families and they lock down in the house, you know, where there's not many, you know, people are by themselves, it's okay. But if you in the house, 5 people, and all the time everybody buzzing around, you know, and obviously it's going to be absolutely different experience. So I think that also very important, you know, some moms, they actually, oh my God, I need to escape. And so there is the online environment for them to actually dedicate time and learn to dedicate time, even there is a busy environment, and actually create that space for them. Okay, this is my time now. You guys go play or do whatever. It's organizing, it's self-love. It's a great space and great time right now to learn self-love, even being surrounded with people. And that is pretty much what I see. It's opportunity to look in everything that we create, to look how we do love ourselves. What do we want? You know, what is our passions are? How is our health? And so on. It's a great opportunity to look people into the inside world. Yeah,
absolutely. For most of us, it's a wonderful opportunity to look inside and make the best of us. And the phrase that was running through my head when you were talking about how we do this is me time. That's to set time aside for ourselves and nurture ourselves and look after ourselves and so on. There's another personality group that might find it tougher to deal with COVID than most others. And that's those that self-identify as extroverts. These are individuals who are energized, who are charged, who are enthused in the presence of other people, and take these individuals away from other people, and they find it very difficult to function. It's almost like other people are a drug to them, and that when they don't have contact with other people, they feel very withdrawn, very sullen. They lose their enthusiasm, their enthusiasm and passion for life. I wonder if we could explore how those buoyant individuals, those bouncy individuals who need other people, how do you think they can best explore, best deal with the COVID lockdown? What do you think the best approaches are for them?
I think about this personality, and I can see the buzzing around people and so on. There's a question comes from within. Is this who they are really? It's like, is this who they are really? Because there is other part of them as well, not necessarily are like this all the time. And also the other question, do we really need other people to charge ourselves with the positive energy? Why do we become addicted to other people, being around other people to charge a positive, right? So it's interesting. It's for them, it's learning to actually find, it's okay, you can create, you know, little communities online, connect with people. There's many things, meet up groups online, ongoing, they can be there and buzz all way they want. But it's also exploring, is this part of me that now, you know, doesn't give a charge? Maybe there's other parts of me that needs to be explored. I think, you know, sometimes you can be addictive to go out all the time, run into the environment, look and conversation. But as also, there's other part of us where sometimes needs to be explored, and that is the time now. So, you know, of course, if people want to do the inner work, this is where we really heading to with these conversations about acknowledging the fact that as a part of your personality is this, and this is the way you are, you always in need of other people. But also there is other part of you that it's time to explore right now, because how long you're gonna bounce with other people, right? So it's this is the way I see. What do you think? What do you see?
I think it's hugely complicated. Most bouncy people that I deal with, they find it difficult to understand people who are not like that. They find it difficult to understand people who are not extroverts, enthusiastic people who need others all the time. And I think the opposite is the case. I think people who are quiet, self-reflective, happy with their own company, don't need other people, I think they find it quite difficult to understand those who need other who need other people all the time. I suspect that all of us, whether we are, and of course we don't all sit in one extreme or the other, but wherever we are on the continuum between those two, I think you're right that all of us ought to be exploring how we can make ourselves happy, how we can make ourselves function best in the circumstances we have, because frankly the alternative doesn't bear thinking about. If we accept that we need other people and we feel as though we are deprived of other people, and that this deprivation of other people is going to go on for goodness knows how long, then we're making a rather unpleasant lot for ourselves. So even those individuals who are bouncy and need other people, I think they do need to find other ways to make themselves happy. And there are lots of ways, and we've talked about this in previous videos, that happiness is a choice, and it's a choice that we can all make, and it's a choice that we can all make at any time. So I think the bouncy, enthusiastic people who are thinking, oh my God, I'm cut off for people for the next however many months, it would be wise for them to explore other ways to make themselves happy. But there will be some on the extreme who find the need for other people so essential that they will struggle with this, really struggle with this. And maybe those are the individuals who they're going to have to find themselves on Zoom calls, maybe 8 hours a day, just to keep their sanity, just so they can interact with other people. And you know, thank goodness on behalf of them, you know, thank goodness for things like Skype and WhatsApp and Zoom and all the other video calling options, because those individuals who really need other people have an opportunity to make the contact. So maybe if they just change the way they contact other people, they don't actually have to do the thing that maybe they would rather not do, which is to sit and reflect and sit and explore. Maybe they can continue doing exactly what they did before, but just in a slightly different format. What do you think?
Well, if the person is needy, so to call, right? Needing of other people, there's always a way to explore what is the need has to be met. Why you don't want to look into yourself, why is your company is not owned, and you know, what's there to explore. But I have a question for you, just very personal. How do you cope with this? What do you do? What is your coping mechanism with this COVID lockdown and so
well,
on?
as you know, I've written lots of books, and part of the book writing process is spending long hours on your own thinking about problems, and particularly the things I write about, which are you know, leadership problems, coaching problems, psychotherapeutic problems, and so on. Spending long hours researching online and using academic sources, looking at my case history notes with clients, pulling it all together, trying to come up with models to analyze the situation, picking up the phone, speaking to colleagues about the thinking that I have, asking their opinion of this, of these models, testing these theories with clients. All of these things I can continue to do during lockdown. In fact, for me, lockdown has been very, very constructive. I mean, I won't go through the list of things I've managed to achieve during lockdown, but the general principle is that because I haven't had to spend so much time on the road, you know, traveling to coaching assignments and so on, I've been able to do much more than I normally would be able to do. So I think for my particular behavioral pattern, and I'm suggesting it's behavioral patterns by making this hand gesture, you know, there are many behavioral patterns. For my particular patterns of mental behavior, it's quite constructive. How about you?
What about the physical?
Yeah, physical. I'm able to continue to do physical exercise because, as we discussed before, you don't need a gym in order to do physical exercise. For instance, you can do press-ups anywhere. You can do sit-ups and all forms of stomach and abdominal exercises. You can do the plank. You can do squats. You can do squat jumps. You can do wide arm lifts. You know, that just about any human, using your own body weight to do exercise, you can do anywhere, anytime. And of course, the yoga techniques that you know so much more advanced a level than I do. I've been doing some basic yoga techniques. I mean, even such simple things like you know, stretching one's arms like that, and you know, all the classic techniques like this. Those can be done anywhere, anytime. And there are lots of great yoga books online in Kindle format, so you can download them literally instantaneously. You know, you press the button and the next moment it appears in your book reader. So you can see the pictures of the techniques. You can learn about how to do the techniques. So, you know, for me, exercise continues as normal. How about you?
Same. In the morning I run, and you know, actually right now it's cold outside, so not many people outside at all. I run, I swim, I maintain my own routine, and then obviously leading yoga classes online and meditation classes is pretty much every day. And then I read books, write, prepare. Actually, there's opportunity for me to do a little retreat in the center where I work in Birsteness. So people allowed to come there. So it's a great opportunity, beautiful discount. So I'm creating the program over there. So they allow me to bring people in. So I'm doing that. So there's many opportunities opening up in this lockdown. So I'm exploring ways and creating the product as well, refining it, a few things, working on my new website, which is called Alchemy of Health. So it's about all the products, health coaching sessions and conversation that, let's say, we have as well, people that I connect with. It's wow, it's lots of time and really lots of exploration. And one thing that I'm actually exploring is being more online on video. And so I'm noticing many people now coming up live on video, where before people would be afraid of to be on the videos. And, you know, I don't want to look into myself. There's many beliefs crashing into self-reflection. And I think this is a great way to explore people, the way they look at themselves and the way they connect and self-judgment and so on. It's pretty cool.
There's a Chinese character, I can't remember the name of this character, but it means both opportunity and adversity. It means problem and opportunity at the same time. I'm wondering whether or not, I mean, obviously, you know, we have vast numbers of people who are very, very badly affected by this this COVID situation. You know, the death toll is pretty horrendous. But for those who are not affected that badly by it, I think the rational, constructive approach is to try and see this situation as an opportunity. And the thing about seeing something as an opportunity is that once you've made that choice, you tend to self-fulfill that choice. You make that choice real. If you see it as a horrible adversity, as a life impairing disaster, then that's exactly how you'll treat it. You in your mind, and when I say you, I mean all of us, if we take that thought pattern, we will make it a life-impairing disaster. But if we see it as an opportunity, we will make it an opportunity and find ways of getting the best out of it. So I think if I was to summarize just one thing from everything that we've discussed today that would be most important for me, I'm sure you'll have your most important thought too, it would be, in this COVID situation, in this COVID lockdown, I think it's best for people to see it as an opportunity. That's assuming that they're not badly affected by it themselves physically. If they're okay physically, then see it as an opportunity, because I think that's the best way of serving ourselves, and it's probably the best way of serving other people as well. What do you think?
Absolutely. It's the clear seeing of what a situation really is, and making your own judgment despite what environment really is creating it, any stress, just making your own judgments and exploring that. Absolutely, staying positive, seeing the positive side of it, seeing the reality, accepting it, and then looking for ways, different ways to look into situation. Explore. Do not put yourself into fear on actual, emotional lockdown. There's many ways we can look in the situation and explore. So I think it's just another playground where we are pushed into exploring different ways to look and perspective, explore perspectives. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Well,
Nigel. That's it. Yeah, so we explored quite a lot, and I hope our audience will get a positive vibe from these conversations. And I want to thank you for being around, sharing your knowledge and all the wisdom and your energy. Thank you so much, Nigel.
That, of course, goes two ways, Egle. Hopefully the knowledge you've been sharing will help lots of people. Just to finish on the thing that we're definitely agreeing on, that all of us can make the choice to see this situation in a positive light and make the best of it for ourselves and therefore for everybody else around us. Egle, thank you very much. Take care. Bye.
Take care.